This is a story about the past 2.5 years. Pretty much my journey. My name is Grace, but a lot of people call me Cookie. It's been my nickname since before I was born. This is the first day of 5th grade. That's me. I was so excited about all the events coming up that year, especially the 5th grade picnic. Don't worry, I got better. But I wasn't feeling better. After a month of going back and forth to the pediatrician with back and leg pain through the help of some friends, a new pediatrician wanted me to go straight to the ER for stat blood work and x-rays. So off we headed into the elevator, and that's when I asked my mom,
"Do they think I have cancer?"
She said, "Why would you say that? Don't be silly." My blood work and x-rays came back fine, so I was admitted and sent for an MRI the next day. The MRI showed something in my bones, so we left the hospital at midnight and were at the children's hospital before dawn, and I took my balloons with me. And I got hooked up to this, and they told me it would have to go everywhere with me. So I decided to my new best friend, Bob. Bob and I went down for some scans. And remember that day the pediatrician sent us to the ER, and on the way down to the elevator? Well, my fear was confirmed. I did have cancer. Stage 4, high-risk neuroblastoma. Now, this is where my family and I made a decision, a very important decision. We're going to stay positive and keep moving forward, and that's what we set out to do. Left the hospital on a Friday. I went home, cut my hair, dyed it a kickin' red, and we were back at the hospital on Monday. I had more scans, had surgery to put my line in so all my meds could go through it. Was reunited with Bob, and I decided he should have a face to go with his name. Round 1 of chemo. 10 more visitors. Yay! And see that's Crash Cart. We had a little Crash Cart party in my room one night, when my heart went from this to this and then back to that. Me and Bob were in this together. Good job, Bob. I had even more visitors. So many this time that when we walked down in this hallway to the couch, kids started coming out of their rooms to walk with us because they thought it was a parade. We had Thanksgiving in the hospital, and the first Cookies Crumbler shirts were born. There's a lot of spare time in the hospital, and there's a lot of crafts and music. I finally got to go home, and I shaved my head. I decided when I would lose my hair, not the cancer. But my brother did let me shave his head first. Back to the hospital. Round 2 of chemo. I made art, made more crafts, made a hedgehog, made some music, met a cool nurse, made snow, and made snowflakes. I got to go home for Christmas, and the fire department came with every single one of their trucks. And my friends came to visit, and if you came to visit, you were going to dance. I like dancing because it's hard not to be happy when you're dancing. Back to the hospital for a stem cell harvest. Round 3 of chemo. More music. And hey, did you know you can make a radio out of a milk carton? Play it again, Mike. Round 4 of chemo. Am I the only one in these music classes? Arts and crafts at 3 o'clock. Got to go home for a bit and only ate artichokes for a week and a half. Back to the hospital for bone marrows. More arts, Nerf gun fun, and some delicious medicine for the scans. I was happy there was a snowstorm so my brother could come with us. I got to go home for Valentine's weekend, and we were back at the hospital again during another snowstorm for scans. But these scans were to get ready for my surgery. Surgery to remove the tumor. I was excited about having the tumor removed, but not so much about the medicine. I brought my rosary beads and asked my surgeon to hold on to them for me during the surgery. I also asked him to record my surgery, which he did. And he was able to get the entire tumor out. After only a couple days, I was able to go home. Round 5 of chemo. Hey, anybody want to play the ukulele? There was more arts, more crafts, and I got to meet Robin Thicke. I just wanted to go home. All the treatment up to this point had been a part of my induction phase, and I was tired. But wait a minute, back it up. Do you know Robin Thicke smells amazing? Yay, my induction phase was complete. Had another surgery to switch out my line and to get ready for MIBG therapy. Then this happened. I named my French bulldog Topi after my first chemo drug, topotecan. MIBG therapy. I was excited about this. This was the part of the study I was on that they were most hopeful about. I wanted to get the cancer out of my bones, and I couldn't wait to get back home to Topi. Then I realized I couldn't leave the bed at all during this treatment. In addition to being in a room completely covered in plastic, I had to stay behind 3 lead walls and no one could come near me. That's because I was injected with radioactive tagged iodine. When I finally could leave, almost a week later, I was still being picked up by the Geiger counter, and no one could sit next to me at home for a week. I was back and forth to the hospital almost 3 times a week for transfusions. But I did get to go to the 5th grade social with my friends. Seriously, who puts a hairbrush in the oncology Take 1 toy box? It was 6 weeks later, and I came back for scans, and my scans came back stable. All right, no change. We'll take it. But that meant I was back for another round of MIBG therapy. I wasn't really looking forward to this, but I told myself you have no choice but to be strong, but you can choose to be happy and positive, and that's what I did. So I made more arts and crafts, but those are radioactive, so I couldn't take them home with me. I had another 6 weeks of back and forth in arts and crafts. And in that time, I graduated from the 5th grade, and I turned 11, and the whole 5th grade got to celebrate with me. I lost some of my hearing from chemo, but then I got it back with hearing aids. Before I knew it, my 6 weeks were up, and it was time for scans. I was sure there had to be improvement after 2 rounds of MIBG radiation. But guess what? There wasn't. My scans were exactly the same. And on top of that, my doctors told me they were no longer treating to cure me. This was the same time the amazing people at Make-A-Wish asked me if I decided what my wish was. I knew exactly what I would wish for, but I didn't know if it was possible. I really wanted to meet Pope Francis. In the meantime, we went to another hospital, where I met some wicked awesome nurses. But the hospital said there was nothing they could do either. At least I got to drive the duck boat. So we went to Sloan Kettering and the Big Apple. They had edible arts and crafts there. I had a PET scan there, and met with Dr. Modak, and he said he thought there was one more thing we could try, immunotherapy. But first, he wanted me to have a round of a high-dose chemo called ice. My original doctors didn't think it was a good idea. They thought it was too risky. In the meantime, I got my line removed, since I was no longer getting a stem cell transplant. That meant I could do this, swim. It was the last meet of the summer. I just had surgery the day before, and I hadn't been in the water since November. But I didn't care. I was going to swim in that swim meet. My coach hopped in the water just in case. No one was sure I was going to make it to the other side, including me. This is what my parents will tell you was a pivotal moment in my treatment. It was here at that moment that my parents looked at each other and decided that we were going to Sloan. Ice chemo. I knew this was going to be a tough round of chemo, but I did what I do best through treatment. I danced. I did new crafts, I learned how to knit, and found out that Frank comes around on Friday nights with a candy cart. Got sick once I was home from the chemo, but we expected that. Took a trip back to the hospital in an ambulance, but they turned the lights on, so that was pretty cool. I went to a drive-in and had a disco party on the rooftop, and I played more music, but with a pink ukulele. We were back and forth to Sloan a lot, and that meant a lot of this. More chemo, more scans, and more rounds of chemo. Sometimes we got to commute by ferry. It was getting close to Christmas, and I got to see the tree at Rockefeller Center. More dancing, more chemo, and then this.
Grace, you excited?
Yeah.
I'm downloading Viber.
Where are we going?
Rome.
A woody.
Go back a second. That's Pope Francis kissing me on the head. That was a life-changing trip. Thank you, Make-A-Wish. I came back from that trip, recharged and ready to fight. And that's what we did. We got set up, and I started immunotherapy. It was a phase 1 study, funded solely by donations, and it was a pretty tough treatment. With a lot of support, I continued to stay strong, happy, and positive. I went back for a second round. I had scans, but we were told we weren't going to see any improvement. It was really to make sure that there was no progression of the disease. I was an ambassador for the Stop and Shop Sloan Kettering program, and I got to help kick off the program by giving this speech.
And I just found out yesterday that for the first time since my diagnosis, my scans showed a significant improvement.
Finally, after a year and a half, significant improvement. So I got sent for proton radiation therapy. Did a little dancing and met some really awesome people. I had to go in the morning and the afternoon, so we found ways to kill time in between.
Hi, honey. How are you? I'm your nurse, Debbie. What's your name? Anne. Okay. Hi. How's your poop? Is it soft, hard? Do you need pain medicine? What's your pain scale from a 1 to 10? A 7. Okay. That's bad, but.
I got to celebrate my 12th birthday with the people I love. Something I don't take for granted. Back and forth to Sloan for more treatment, more dancing. In November, I had what would be my last round of immunotherapy, and it was pretty tough. And you know what? At this point, so was I. And when I went for my scans in December, I was NED, no evidence of disease. Thank you, Dr. Modak, for giving me hope when others couldn't.